rising cost of living is constantly being talked about by politicians and in the media, with bills rising for everyone and wage increases falling. A recent NUS study has found that student loans and grants do not meet the rising cost of rent and bills, and that the average student cost of living and studying in the 2013 to 2014 academic year would amount to over £7,600 more than the student would receive from loans and grants. The study also draws attention to the fact that as rent and bills continue to rise above the level of inflation, grants and loan rates have been frozen this year and shall only rise 1% next year. Another study found that after paying for housing and utilities, students outside of London from families with an average income are left with only £11.15 a week to live on from their student support. But it's not all doom and gloom. A report by the BID attributed the return of Manchester's 100,000 student population to the 6% rise in sales in September. A voucher code study found that after bills and rent, alcohol topped the list of expenses over food. So today we ask, are students really feeling the pinch? Do you think your student loan is sufficient, would you say?
I wouldn't say it's sufficient. It doesn't, well, as you probably know yourself, it doesn't really cover some of the basic essentials some of the time.
Yeah, but that's because my parents support me. If they didn't, I'd have to have a job.
Even then, I don't think it would stretch far enough. We have to rely on our parents and our own work to get by. Really,
I get the absolute bare minimum from the government because my mum and dad earn over the threshold, which I don't really think is fair on them because they have to support me more. And I do have a part-time job as well, but it still just doesn't go.
It's a little bit of a struggle. I used to get also a disability living allowance because I've got Asperger's syndrome. And so I feel like if I didn't have those subsidences, those extra allowances, I wouldn't be able to really survive particularly well.
Yeah, kind of the same, but I get a grant as well, so I've got enough, kind of.
It could always be better, of course, but you've still got to pay it back eventually, right?
And what do you spend most of your money on, would you say?
Mostly just, rent and food, basically.
Transport probably more than anything else.
Yeah, I spend a lot of it on transport, getting around, getting home and stuff, and food. Yeah.
Food.
Rent.
Rent and food. No, I'll probably spend more on food.
No, you don't. Oh yeah, because you didn't pay rent.
I don't actually drink, so that actually, significantly less money than most students.
After the accommodation, you don't have much left. So, no is the answer.
Big fat no.
Big fat no.
No.
So, the rising cost of living is something that is currently affecting all students. Student halls is one of the worst cases where we're seeing the rising cost of living affecting students because we've got big business that can make so much money out of students for this horrible little room. I mean, that's ridiculous, that sort of price for student halls, but it's because they know that they can rip students off because students are vulnerable in the sense that they don't know where to live, they haven't met friends yet, or haven't got places that they can move into. Whether the loans are enough to cover our living expenses, I think no, they're absolutely not. It's just enough to cover your rent. So there's absolutely no way that you can sustain yourself at university without either a job or some help. We can have tenants unions, we can start thinking about setting up or creating a forum for students to share information about landlords. They're sort of ripping us off with these dodgy inventories or with agency fees. Agency fees is just, it's money that they can charge for absolutely no reason. There's they leave things to go mouldy or they don't come around to fix things when they need fixing. So we'd be able to share the information about stuff like that and about bad landlords. But these problems, we have to start thinking about the rising cost of living and how can we have an impact on that. And in the short term, I think there are things that we can do as students. One would be boycotting supermarkets. And that's one way of saving money, but also it will have an impact on the revenues of big business, and it will force them to either reduce their prices or to provide a better service. In terms of energy bills, there's really nothing that we can do in the short term, I don't think. Again, that's a really big political issue, and it revolves around the big six, the big energy companies. I mean, if they were to raise the loans or give us more support on money while we went through university, I mean it's a short-term solution because it's not gonna tackle the issues of student debt. We're going to come out of university with crippling debt, and also it doesn't change the jobs market. So there's no promise that there's going to be jobs for us to pay back that debt when we leave anyway, and it's going to leave a lot of students in a really terrible position when they leave university.
The NUS says more help should be readily available to disadvantaged students and is calling for a greater proportion of the government's New Access Fund, the National Scholarship Programme, to be invested in scholarships and bursaries. So what do you think? Why don't you tell us how long your loan lasts and what you spend your money on? You can tweet us at FuseTV Manc or Facebook us at facebook.com/FuseTV Manchester.